Chapter 26. The prison's cell block was a shadowy realm, where flickering lights struggled against the encroaching darkness. Distant clanging sounds echoed like ghosts in the night, a harsh reminder of the place's grim purpose. Guards, clad in tactical gear, patrolled the narrow corridor. Phoenix strode in with a burning conviction that set him apart from the soldiers around him. He stood in front of the control room's reinforced glass window. The prison warden, a stern man with a number 666 tattooed on his right hand, looked up with a mixture of surprise and trepidation. Phoenix slammed his fist on the counter, the sound reverberating through the air like thunder.
"Release Abigail.
Now." The warden frowned, shaking his head.
You don't have the authority to— I'm not asking.
Phoenix interrupted, his voice as cold as steel.
I'm ordering. The general's command.
You remember him, don't you?
Open her cell, or I promise you, you will regret it.
The tension crackled between them, thick as fog. The warden hesitated another moment, clearly intimidated by Phoenix's commanding presence. With a wary sigh, he relented.
You do know she's one of those rebel leaders,
he said, a note of warning lacing his voice.
I could be hanged for letting her out.
You will be hanged for refusing orders. Phoenix's eyes narrowed, unyielding. With a series of clinks and clatters, the warden began the laborious process of unlocking the cell doors. At the end of the block, the heavy door creaked open, revealing Abigail. Her face was pale, and as her wide eyes met Phoenix's, tears of joy glistened there. Her hair was a mess, and she'd lost weight, but she looked overall healthy.
"Phoenix!"
she cried, her voice breaking with emotion. He went into the cell to meet her. She rushed toward him, enveloping him in a desperate embrace. Phoenix wrapped his arms around her, the stern facade he wore softening as he buried his face in her shoulder, bringing his lips close to her ear.
I'm here. I've got you,
he whispered, resolve settling in his heart.
I'm one of you now.
Abigail pulled back slightly, her hands resting on his shoulders. Her expression was a mix of joy and disbelief, as if she couldn't quite comprehend the miracle unfolding before her.
I knew you wouldn't leave me here. I knew you'd come. Dad told me,
she said, her voice thick with gratitude. Phoenix met her gaze, his heart swelling with unspoken promises.
I promised I would. We're getting out of here. Together.
As they began to move toward the exit, Abigail looked up at him, her expression shimmering with love and hope. But Phoenix's thoughts were momentarily drawn to the militia around them. He took a deep breath.
We don't have much time,
he called to the soldiers.
Move out!
With his words, the soldiers sprang into action, following their orders with mechanical precision. He turned to Abigail and secretly whispered,
Buying us time. I'm sending them to the other side of town.
Sometime later, the sun hung low in the sky, casting long, slanting shadows across the cracked pavement of the Babylon abandoned warehouse. The same group of militia soldiers gathered around a high-tech command van parked nearby, the tension in the air palpable as they prepared for their next move. Inside the van, Hogan surveyed the screens before him. Surrounded by a group of technicians, he focused intently on the movements displayed on the monitors. A female silhouette glowed as it entered an underground room, and Hogan's eyes gleamed with a mixture of admiration and contempt.
Love technology,
he mused, his voice low and gravelly.
We would never have been able to track them if they didn't have those.
The technicians nod, their faces illuminated by the glow of the screens. In the Babylon underground bunker, the air hummed with the clacking of keyboards and the glow of flickering screens as his rebels worked feverishly.
We're on the verge of keeping the communication network down forever.
Manfred paced furiously, his thin frame vibrating with tension. The rickety old elevator creaked and groaned as it descended, finally shuddering to a halt. The doors slid open, and Audi and Abigail stepped out, their arrival bringing needed energy to the bleak interior of the bunker. Manfred's face brightened with a mixture of relief and joy when he saw Abigail. He rushed over and enveloped her in a tight embrace, his frazzled nerves easing momentarily. He pulled back to look at her.
I can see it now. Yeshua's touch,
Manfred exclaimed, his voice a blend of awe and excitement.
You've crossed over. I could see it in your eyes.
He paused, catching his breath, before adding,
So have I.
As the words left his mouth, Phoenix emerged from the elevator behind them. The atmosphere in the room shifted palpably. The rebels and Manfred's eyes widened with surprise and unease as they took in Phoenix's imposing figure. Several who were sitting abruptly stood, as they thought they might have to quickly run away. Abigail, noticing the growing tension, turned to the room, patting the air with both hands.
It's okay,
she said reassuringly.
Phoenix saved me. He has a plan to get my father out too. He's one of us now. We're all safe.
Manfred's relief was short-lived as panic set in. His eyes darted around wildly, realizing the gravity of their situation.
It's a trap! They're leading them to us!
He shouted, his voice cracking with fear. Before anyone could react, the blurring sound of a perimeter alarm filled the room. Manfred spun around, desperately trying to locate the source. Abigail and Audi turned their attention to Phoenix, who raised his hands in a gesture of desperation.
It's not me, I swear. I risked everything to bring you here,
he pleaded urgently. Without warning, the entrance of the bunker exploded in a thunderous roar. Dust and debris surged into the room, obscuring everything in a thick, choking cloud. Through the smoke, the militia forces stormed in, their weapons raised and ready for combat. The rebels, caught entirely off guard, were thrown into disarray. The once orderly bunker became a battlefield, the air thick with the acrid smell of gunpowder and the cacophony of shouting voices. Dust and smoke bellowed into the room as the militia forces stormed in, weapons raised. Manfred's face turned a ghastly shade of white as he saw the militia advancing. He turned to Phoenix, his voice barely audible over the chaos.
Take him down!
He shouted. Without hesitation, the rebels surged toward Phoenix. They tackled him to the ground, their numbers overwhelming him. A few began kicking him mercilessly while he struggled against their relentless assault. Despite his best efforts, Phoenix was quickly subdued by the sheer force of their attack. Abigail's anguished cry cut through the tumult.
Phoenix!
Just then, Hogan made his entrance.
Secure it!
Hogan ordered his men, his voice slicing through the clamor. Hogan's men pushed through the chaos, quickly subduing the remaining rebels. Handcuffing Manfred, Audi, and Abigail, their disciplined actions contrasted sharply with the earlier confusion, swiftly bringing the situation under control. As the militia released the battered Phoenix, Hogan's eyes immediately focused on Phoenix's unmarked hand and pondered. Then, he approached Phoenix with a smile and a nod of approval, patting him on the back.
Well done, son,
Hogan said, his tone a mix of pride and satisfaction.
The hand, a brilliant trick to earn their trust. Sending your team in the opposite direction was a nice touch, just in case they were watching. And of course, you knew we tracked Abigail's nanoparticles.
Audi, his face a mask of realization, mumbled,
The vaccines.
Hogan's smile widened with smug satisfaction.
Of course, though I'm afraid it's a bit late for you to be having this realization.
Abigail, her face a picture of shock and betrayal, looked at Phoenix with sharp eyes. He could see they were filled with the deep pain of being deceived again. As the militia started escorting the rebels out, Phoenix stepped toward Hogan with his hands out.
Dad, it's too late. I've crossed over.
The ground started to shake uncontrollably. Another earthquake. All the rebels being dragged off. Audi whispers as he passes Phoenix. The seventh and final bowl of God's wrath is being poured out.